Hi, I'm Amanda McCoy Flanagan.
And I'm Ginny Oliva Smith. Welcome to Soul Rising.
On this podcast, you'll hear honest, off-the-cuff, vulnerable conversations about all things love, loss, and connection.
Deep and meaningful conversations sure to pull at your heartstrings and enlighten your soul.
Again, welcome. It's time to let your soul rise.
Who are you? Why do you do the things you do? How honest are you about your character, the inner workings of your heart and mind? Do your actions come from a humble place within, a place of love? Or are you desperately seeking approval, validation from others that you're a good person? And how does telling yourself that you don't care what anyone thinks of you limit your personal growth?
Hey, everybody.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Soul Rising.
Hello, this is episode 5. We're calling this one, Let's Be Honest.
Let's be honest, Amanda. You really wrote a good one here. This has got me all jacked up in my brain. So let's be honest, Amanda. This is a good one. This is a really good one.
All right, we're going to jump in. First, I'd like to welcome you back. I'd like to welcome the newcomers here. And you are in the new and improved meditation kit.
Yes, new and improved. It's almost too much space. I almost don't know what to do because we don't have our contraption above us. And I'm looking around. It's all this beautiful acoustical material. Great job, Jim and Amanda.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, this is awesome.
This is so much fun.
It is. I do kind of miss, the dark fort.
Cool. The fort was really awesome. It was like
It was.
I was 5 years old again.
It was so much like that. Maybe that's why I loved it so much.
I know. I kind of questioned if we should get rid of it because it was really cool.
Yeah.
But now the signs on the wall are back, candles.
Can you believe it? Can you believe we're here? All the
Yeah.
way from when we were sitting there talking at the coffee shop, and now we have 5 episodes of a podcast.
Hell yeah.
And a couple of people have listened. You guys rule.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all
Coming
for
back.
listening. Yeah, I mean, I said it last time, and we know that there's like a million shows you could be listening to. So the fact
Seriously.
that you're tuning into us, that's awesome. And if you like the show, please remember to follow and
Just leave a little comment. Share it with your homies.
Yeah, tell your friends, really. That's how like all of this works. It's
It
just
is.
like word of mouth and sharing this good stuff with other people. So anyway, so we're glad you're here. So today we're going to talk about honesty, and we're going to talk about it in 2 different ways. So when I talk about honesty, I'm not talking about like, you find a $20 bill on the ground and you chase after the person who dropped it, or you pocket it.
Or even you're like, what? I didn't say anything. There's no 20 on the parking lot by the shopping cart at King Super.
Yeah.
That didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're not talking about that. You're
No,
not
I'm not
talking
talking
about
about that.
like, oh, hey, mister, you dropped your 20, or
No.
you gave me too much change back.
No,
Okay.
I'm not talking about that, because that kind of stuff is pretty easy for the most part. I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably a pretty good human.
Probably.
And if you've come back to our podcast,
Yeah.
especially, you're
Yes.
probably
You're the best kind of human if you're back and still listening to us. At least that's what I think. We're throwing you a parade next time. Come back.
So what
It
we're talking
really
about is
does.
getting honest within. I call it emotional integrity. I don't know if I've ever heard the phrase. I feel like I coined it. It's definitely possible that I didn't.
I'm
but-
going to say you did right here and now. This is Amanda's coin phrase.
Yeah, I don't know.
Emotional integrity. I feel like I've used it before too, but maybe it's because I've heard you say it.
I don't know. It's like, if you say you are compassionate, if you say you are loving, if you say you are understanding, if you say you're all these things, are you really? Like, how are you living?
Right.
Are you putting these principles into action, or do you just like telling yourself that this is who you are?
Right. What's the intention? What's the motive? What's the energy behind it, I guess, right?
What's the driving force?
yeah,
are
what's
you-
the driving force?
Yeah. It's about feeling, right? So emotions are like feelings. They're similar. They're not exactly the same, but whatever you're feeling, are you willing to jump into that fear or the anxiety or the pain, the discomfort? Are you willing to jump into that stuff when it comes up? Or do you automatically just like shut it down immediately? So to be integrous, which is a word I use in my book, and I looked that up because it was a word back in like the 1800s, and they took it out of the dictionary, but I love it.
It took it out of the dictionary?
Yeah, integrous.
Isn't that
it's actually
weird?
not
I
a
used
word
to-
anymore. But
Real-
so
should be. In my old work life, we knew a company named Integris. So that's interesting that you brought that up. But this, I got to tell you, when I started reading all the show notes and the blog, absolutely right away, like I was reading, I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. This is so awesome. And then I started reading and I'm like, oh, Amanda, crying my eyes out. The last episode, this episode, I'm like, oh, because this one hit me big time. This hit me in a lot of ways because I am extremely guilty. Just a lot of this resonated with me of really having to ask myself the questions as to why, being the nice, get along with everybody person. As I've gotten older and sober, I think obviously understanding that a lot of my early age of doing that was all based on like survival and getting through. It wasn't all because, oh yes, I just am such a great person. It was, I figured out being nice to people helped me survive situations that I may not have been able to at the age of 11 or 12. So this, I was like, oh, Amanda. Oh, God, here we go. So this is a great topic. Also one that made me uncomfortable. So thanks, Amanda, for that.
I want to make you comfortable.
I
said that
know.
So.
Man's of growing.
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
So the second part of this is we hear a lot in the personal development world. So I kind of take an opposite view with a lot of these concepts or ideas going around. And the one that kind of always hits me a little weird is this whole idea of I don't care what anybody thinks of me. Like I'm good. I'm who I am and I don't care. And yes, for the most part, yes. I mean, nobody should ever define you, but this is part of the 12-step work we do. It's the fourth step. And what we do in that is we look honestly at our character and who we are.
Ooh, and it's not the best time.
It's not fun. A lot of people don't make it past the fourth step. The fourth step is a lot of people go out and drink because it's kind of hard to do. You'll get resentments, all that kind of stuff. But I translate that into taking what other people say about me and, not accepting it wholeheartedly. Like, not trying it on and accepting it and wearing it and, oh, yeah, they said that, so that's what I am. That's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
I'm talking about investigating. Be open enough to say, you know what? I can't see me the way they see me.
Yeah.
Right? I think I'm this person. I think I'm emotionally integrous. I think I'm living who I think I am. I think I'm portraying that out in the world. But it really does me a disservice and it limits my personal growth when I automatically shut down what anybody else says about me.
You're right, because we think that it's like, no, I'm actually being true to myself. And it's like, actually, you are avoiding some pieces. And let's be real, there are some times, we know this, people who might have their own insecurities. We all have a thing about projecting. So yes, there could be some of that. But what you're saying is most of the time people are saying, well, don't take on what anyone else is saying because that's all projection of someone else's. And the truth of the matter is there's probably almost always some level of truth to what they're saying. And we become defensive. And it's like, no, you're not going to tell me that I'm this, even in just marriage, right? My husband who's 15 minutes early to every single thing. I am somebody like ADHD brain who has like time blindness, like no one's business, but getting so annoyed. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm not. No, that's not the case. I'm not always running around at the last minute. Yes, it is. And that's a small thing. But there's a lot of times when somebody has something to point out about us, there's some level of truth to it, and it becomes very easy to just shut it down because it's not fun to see, first of all. And we can convince ourselves and justify that by saying, no, I'm just being true to myself. Like, don't throw your shit on me. Like, that's not true. And actually, there's probably some truth to it.
Yeah. So the way I like to look at some of these things, I've been using the word expansive lately. I feel like we're living in a world, in a personal development world, where we're encouraged to be open-minded. But how open-minded is it to just shut that down? It's like we're still living in black and white. Like, if I'm not going to care what anybody says about me, I'm not going to care what anybody says about me. And by looking at that stuff, you're going to grow. You're going to change. It's really the only way, especially as you get older, right? You get older, you get like more set in your ways. I don't care what this one thinks. I don't care what that one thinks. It's not true. We all care. So again, I like the word discern. I've used that a bunch of times. We discern. We take it. We say, all right, this person said that about me. I'm going to dissect this thing a little bit, right? What am I going to do? I'm going to sit with it for a minute. I'm going to allow myself to feel that discomfort, that icky feeling that comes when it's like, oh, I don't like that about me. I don't want that to be true.
Exactly.
I don't want that to be true, right? And there's like a process that I go through when I do that, right? Denial. Denial's the first one.
Always
Denial. No, you're wrong. Like, that's my default. My husband says,
no, you're wrong.
Yeah, he'll tell me things. And my initial reaction is, you're wrong. That's not true.
You are wrong.
every single time because I don't want to feel bad about myself. I don't want to look at that. And I also don't want to like do more work. Like I've been doing this work for so long.
Right.
I'm like, when does this end? Never.
Never.
And if I can look at that as a blessing.
Yeah, the chance for that soul evolution, because that's what we're doing all the time. It's almost like those little golden nuggets like we were even talking about last week, which if you guys weren't here or didn't get the chance, go check it out. We were talking about purpose and like our life's purpose and figuring out what it is and all those things. But that every person you ever run across has something to offer you and give you. It's similar in this manner that like the places that are the most uncomfortable when somebody has something to offer are almost the ones with the most potential.
100%.
You know?
Definitely. More uncomfortable you can get and allow yourself to sit in for as long as possible.
Yeah.
That's where most growth happens.
Yeah.
I could come down here and into the cave. I could, do my thing, light my candles, pull out my book, start writing, do whatever I'm doing. And I see it. I've written it out. I get it. Okay, what's next, right? And no, I challenge myself to mull that over for
as long as you
while.
can.
As long as I have to, in order to start to feel like I'm not a really terrible person. That's like the next part of this is like, okay, identifying this is true. And if it's not, you get rid of it. Like Ginny said, there's probably a small fraction of that is true, and the majority of it is a projection. It's more about them than it is about you. That is such a spiritual concept that is just tried and true. And it's so true. It's just the way our human brains work. It's not some woo-woo thing we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's how our human brain
And the
works.
less healed we are really good at projecting.
When you're unhealed, the things that somebody says about you are going to hit you like so hard.
So hard. Yeah. Ooh.
So this is a process. It's the peeling of the layers. It's the healing little by little. And then you become more skilled. It's not that somebody can't do this. They're just unskilled.
Unskilled.
It's a Buddhist term. We like to look at people as skilled or unskilled. They just don't have the skill. But you can get the skill. You can build the skill. You can hone the skill. But you got to start somewhere. So the way I can see myself more clearly and more honestly is by getting really real with myself when people tell me things about myself.
I think as we continue to talk about living in a time where everything is so fast and things are just continuing to be even faster, it's so important to be able to do this and sit in those moments because right now you can justify any thought you have. You pick up your phone and Google anything you want. You can justify whatever you want to believe. We can fill ourselves with these almost like false backing up. Like, that's not me. I don't have a problem with
we
this.
Have like a pride problem. That's the problem.
Yeah.
There's no humility or a lack of humility, I should say. There are plenty of humble people out there. But on the main stages, there is a major lack of humility. The pride is just...
It's insane. Well, and we live in an environment now. We all have a platform just on your social media page.
Just get out there.
And find the right people that will be like, yeah, I agree with you, and then you get that echo chamber effect. So doing what you're talking about, sitting separate of all of that, to write it down, to sit with yourself without the outside influences, just even for a few minutes at a time, to start really looking at, okay, this person said I'm extremely judgmental, whatever it is. Let me write this down. Let me look at this. Let me really, really dig deep. Like you said, investigate and find out if there is some truth to this and not without the outside influences.
It doesn't take a half an hour to sit in silent meditation. You could be like driving along and a thought pops in your head. This little like ding happens, like this little knowledge, this moment of clarity, right? This little knowing. That is your higher self trying to get your attention to say that thing that person said about you that's bothering you so much, there is a kernel of truth to that, right?
Otherwise, it probably wouldn't
bother you at all. If it wasn't true. Yes, exactly.
Just wouldn't. Exactly. If someone's like, I know you stole $50 from me. If you know you didn't, you're like, no, I didn't. Like, I actually did. It wouldn't bother you as much as just striking a chord.
That is the vehicle to the healing. That is how you can tell. That's the measure. That's the
catalyst.
Is it true or is it not true is based upon how much it bothers you or it doesn't bother you.
Yeah.
And then I can question it and I could say, okay, so this is bothering me. I'm going to look at this thing, right? And then I'm going to really go like deep. I'm going to go all into this. I'm going to really investigate this thing. And then what do I do with it? Now, now I know. Now I know this stuff. What do I do with it? So I personally ask my higher power to remove it. I say, all right, so this is the thing that's going on. There's usually a fear driving that. The program calls it character defects. I don't like that word. I'm not crazy about the word defects. I don't think we're defective, but maybe a flaw.
Trait.
A trait.
Yeah.
a personality trait.
Mm-hmm.
In the ACA program we talked about last time, they call them survival traits, like Ginny started talking about before.
I probably need to dig into that program because, yeah, I have many survival traits.
And it doesn't make us bad people.
No.
This whole thing needs to be welcomed with a ton of self-compassion, a
Yes.
ton of self-love.
You don't need more judgment on yourself about it.
Nope.
At all. Like,
No.
it's really not about that. In fact, that's the reason we turn our heads from it anyway. Not fear of abandonment.
That's
or
where it all stems from.
fear of I'm not enough. We look at that and we're like, no, I'm turning my head on that because if that's true about me, I might not be enough for you to stick around, or I may not be enough for you to be healthy, or I may not be enough for whatever the thing is.
So I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do. I'm gonna spin my wheels.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give the gifts. I'm gonna send the cards. I'm gonna
Yes.
do this. I'm gonna do that because I need you to love me.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, I'm afraid you're going to leave me.
You might leave, and you leaving might really be bad. The first few times I have like thoughts about any of that, I was 10, 11 years old and my mom was just not well. My parents had been divorced after like 22 years. I was the youngest. And my mom decided she was going to take off to another town. I know nobody. We moved to Fort Wayne, Indiana from New Mexico. Like what? And I'm 11 or something. And going into 6th grade, starting middle school, I had a 3-week notice. Hey, by the way, we're splitting up. You're coming with me because you're not old enough to decide. Your older siblings are staying here. I'm taking you to Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'm like, what? What? Get there. And unfortunately, my mom wasn't well and she was going through a really hard time. Lost her mom that year. Her and my dad are going through this breakup and her addiction got really bad. So there I am in this new town. I'm mad about this Catholic school. And there's times she's just in such a bad way. She forgets me at school. There's times where, it's like, shit. And that we didn't ride buses. There wasn't any of that. And I learned real quick that becoming friendly and being like, okay, and also being Hispanic, which I'm not even that Hispanic. For a Hispanic person, I'm pretty white. I'm only asked. Like in New Mexico, people are like, oh, girl, you're not Hispanic. But then you go to Fort Wayne, Indiana, and they're like,
Yeah, you're.
first time I ever had someone call me a spick.
Oh, man.
Yeah, seriously. Never even knew what that was like because of my last name and because of where I was from. And immediately I was like, I better start tap dancing real fucking fast.
I better act like them.
Yeah. Well, just start figuring it out. And I learned quickly if I was kind and open and accepting and just bubbly and positive,
people would like
my
you.
friend Carrie's parents might take me home, or my friend Erin. I have friends that I love so much, even from that period of time. And I don't know if any of you are out there listening, but yeah, that there were times that was life-saving.
Well, exactly. That's why we call them survival traits in that program.
Yes.
Because it literally is life and death. Because
Yeah.
when you're a kid, who keeps you alive?
Correct.
Your parents.
Your parents.
They feed you. They
Yeah.
clothe you. They give you a warm bed to sleep in.
Yeah.
Without them,
You're in trouble.
You're equating it to death.
That's right.
And every human spirit shouts for survival.
Absolutely. It's in our DNA to survive. I mean, everything in us is trying to survive. And that's what that is.
Yep.
So I learned that early on in that way. And that's why I think a lot of this struck major chords with me. Because yes, I love people and I'm good with people. There is definitely authenticity to that, especially as I've gotten older and I've been able to really sit into that. But a lot of it started from a place of survival.
And one does not cancel out the other.
No.
Just because maybe I'm behaving in a certain way, my motives might not be pure. Maybe I am seeking that love. Maybe I am seeking that approval. Doesn't mean that there was no kind-heartedness. Again, this is this expansive sort of view that I'm trying to take with all the stuff I'm writing and all the stuff I'm talking about. And what I'm trying to put out there in the world is it doesn't have to be black and white. Just because I'm acting in a way to get approval, I'm seeking approval or love or whatever, doesn't mean I'm a bad person.
No.
When I moved out to Colorado, my mom took it very hard. And I was talking to my therapist. I was telling her how my mom was upset that we were moving. And I said, I just want her to be happy. Like, I just want her to to come with us because I want her to just be happy. And my therapist said, really? Is it really about her? Or is it about you trying to not feel guilty for leaving? And I went home with that and I was pissed at her.
At your
I was
therapist?
Yeah. I was like, who is she to say that? This is not about me. I really want my mom to be happy. And I do. And what I came to was it was both.
Yeah.
It was both.
Because you wanted her to be happy about this choice you were making for you, for your family, was like growth for you guys. But at the same time, it's like you also don't want the discomfort of like, I don't want to break my mom's heart either.
Yes. Yes. So it was both. And that was kind of the first time that this like gray area about my emotions and who I am came to the surface. And I was able to see how just because, yes, maybe I am functioning from a self-centered place, emotionally selfish place of, yeah, I want her to come with us because I don't want to be the one that left. I don't want to feel bad. I don't feel guilty. I still love her.
Of course.
And I still want her to be happy.
Right.
I didn't want her to feel like we were leaving her and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, so on this show and every other thing that we talk about, I want you guys to remember that it's not just all or nothing.
No, it never is. And in fact, we're trying to help everybody get to a place where we can balance and find some peace. It's never all or nothing. And we kind of live in this world where you're on this side of the thing or you're on that side of the thing with everything. And it's like, no, somewhere in the middle, there's...
And I think that's where this spiritual evolution is leading us. Is there is no more of this black and white thinking, right? Even if it comes down to like politics and stuff, like we talked about this before. Say I'm a Democrat, that means that I believe in A, B, and C. No. I might like to pick A from that column. Maybe I'll choose B from that column. Maybe I like a Republican ideal. You know, that is so exciting to me.
Well, are you kidding? I think that's what sparked within us to begin with, because for the most part, there's a bunch of us who, they're somewhere in the middle. Like, it's like, I believe in this and this, but not this and this. We're a lot less separate than we've been led to believe. And that's with most things, but it's also with ourselves, right? In discovering ourselves and finding healing too. It doesn't mean that because you are this, that means you are this. We have this concept in our mind that it has to be this way or it's not. It has to be this way or I'm wrong. And it's like, no, man, being able to get to the point of healing without so much of that.
Self-judgment, right? If you can take away the self-judgment, it helps us to be able to look at whatever that thing is that is not serving us or the world well. And then we get to that place of self-compassion, which is the only way that you can heal these things. Like you cannot look at this stuff and heal it without first getting to a place of self-compassion and saying, you know what, this is where I came from. I'm not a terrible person. I'm suffering. I am in pain. I have gone through things in my life that forced me to behave, to pull out these characteristics to survive, right? So when I'm unable to be honest with myself, that's just my defense mechanism, an overdrive.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's that initial default of like, you're saying that about me? No, that's not true. You have no idea who I am.
Right. You don't even know me.
Yeah. I had this situation recently with somebody, a family member who was kind of telling me something about myself that, in the way that I'm presenting my material to the world, that I wasn't talking about God, that it was more like me.
Like a religious aspect or something?
No, it was more like you talk about healing yourself. I can do this, or we can do this. Human will, almost, I think is what she was trying to say.
Oh, like not putting it in God's hands type of a thing? Okay.
Yes. And I was like, wait a minute. Like, no, my whole life is about my higher power. I'm going to toss that program.
Right. like, I'm alive because of that.
Yeah.
Thinking.
Like, I really feel like I do. So that was my initial default. Right?
Yeah.
That's my initial.
Struck a weird
like, wait a minute. Am I presenting myself as am I a poser? Am I not really?
Isn't that the freaking worst, man?
Yeah, like, and putting out my book. So now it's like the rubber's meeting the road. Like, am I going to have the integrity of being all those things that I say I am in that book, or living the way that I say that I'm living? And I'm very honest about being human in the book. I never say I have anything figured out at all. But am I living with integrity?
Right.
Am I actually living those words on the pages? That book is very spiritual and is very much about leaning on your higher power. I believe the human will and our higher power kind of work together as like teammates.
Yes.
But I had to look at that.
And it probably wasn't super comfortable.
Yeah. The day after, I was like, wait a minute. Am I hiding it? Am I trying to be so inclusive? And all these people want to love me and listen to me and like me and da-da-da-da-da, that I am sort of massaging the message to hide the spiritual part because I don't want to turn anybody off.
That's a great point, because you're like, I don't want to come off too preachy. Maybe.
Like we've said a couple times in here, like, oh, we're not religious, we're spiritual, we're not religious.
But see, we're the kind of chicks that record our podcast on a Bible and then drop some accidental F-bombs with the microphone that's sitting on a Bible. But see, I mean, come on, man.
Oh, yeah.
JC, though, he hung out with all kinds of crazy heathens. Those were his peeps.
Totally. Again, the whole all-in concept of my book, that's kind of how it started, was like, we could be so much more. We don't have to pigeonhole ourselves.
No.
Just because we're recording on a Bible doesn't mean we have to be dressed in...
What are they called? Our habits? Our habits. Yes. It was really interesting, again, something that jogged in inside of me after reading your blog and reading these things is a truth that somehow I don't always like to, we have certain things that help us numb out from one thing to the next at times for those of us that have had substance things or alcoholism or whatever they are. Not everybody has those things. I have had those issues, that walk Amanda has as well. But it's amazing how you can get yourself caught up in other things that you don't necessarily always aren't paying attention to. And something I had to come to the realization of, is like, being like, okay, so crazy busy that it's like I can't even handle things. You know what I mean? Being detached from my body almost and being detached from my feelings about certain things and not thinking that that's what's going on. My plate might be so full and I might be so busy because I'm people pleasing the shit out of everybody and not realizing that it's because I'm still searching for some sense of safety and stability.
It's what it all comes down to.
Yeah.
Safety.
Yeah. And not so much of like, I'm volunteering for this because it's out of the goodness of my heart. And it's like, well, yeah, but it's also because you didn't want to say no. I had to really take a look at a lot of that in reading this material and prepping for this show.
Ginny is on the board at her children's school. And I wonder if that got you thinking, like, I thought about being class mom before, and I had to get honest with myself about that. Why do I want to do that? I'm trying to prove something to the school. Do I want the school administrators to think I'm like a really good parent? Like, look at that Amanda Flanagan. She loves her kids.
She loves her kids. And you know what? I had to come to the realization, too, is I've always been this working mom. I'm still a working mom, but in a different way. My kids were in daycare at the age of 12 weeks. And let's be real, I've had a lot of guilt about that working mom thing and not being at home with them and not being around. So there's a part of that I'm trying to make up for, and making up for lost time. And also in a weird way, I'm like, and are you also trying to maybe become that because it's not what I had, and being like, yes, this is obviously for my kids. It is. But is it also because it's like, I never had anything close to it.
Well, isn't it interesting how I think we are also drawn to have children and to reproduce because we are healing our own childhoods through what we now can give to our own kids.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing wrong, Ginny, with you doing that, right? Like I am looking to heal a part of myself, like your inner child.
Right.
If I can give this to my own kids, maybe I can make it right somehow.
For me. Which again, but digging in, if you're not looking at all of that, real honestly, you can all of a sudden be like, oh, but look, and I did this, and then I'm volunteering for this, and I'm doing this, that, and this. And being like, when you're not honest with yourself, you're right, it is okay. But it also means I have work to do.
Exactly.
It also means I need to look at the truth that there's still work that is healthy as I feel. I don't drink and I don't have this and things are great. It doesn't mean everything inside of me is healed. And it doesn't mean the work is done.
This whole topic we're talking about is not an exercise in beating yourself up and, I'm this terrible person because my motives aren't pure and I'm functioning from selfishness. No. It's okay if your motives aren't pure.
Right.
Like, great, because then that means that you can grow.
Yep.
Right? The more of this stuff you can identify.
And be honest with ourselves.
And be honest with
yourself. Anytime you can be
it.
honest with yourself, you're literally, it's like, it's gold.
Totally.
You're getting a little nugget of gold because it's hard. That is not an easy thing to do. And, and also in looking at people being like, gosh, you've always been so good at sales and you're so personable. And the truth of the matter is you could stick me in a room of almost just about any kind of people. A lot of that is the thin skin between me and the world too, though, like the empathy thing, but also the codependent thing. Like I had to figure out what was going on in the room when I'm 11 years old to be like, all right, I know my mom's passed out at home. I've got to get home from the public library. Let's figure out whose parents, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But that also created some really good qualities. It's how we use them now. They talk about that too in ACA. It's called integration. It's about how do I take that either hustling or manipulation or hypervigilance or whatever, and how does it actually serve me? It might come off the bat as not a good quality. But those things made you the survivor that you are.
100%. And that is...
Yeah, shit hits the fan. I could call Ginny because I know Ginny's going to suit up and she's going to show up.
Yeah. I'm like, what's up? Where you at? Where you at?
Yeah.
You need me? What do you need me to bring?
Yeah.
You need me to bring a shovel? All right. Well, I'm not going to ask questions, but where are you at? No, that's true.
And like for me, I've been told that I jump into action.
Yeah.
Like when something happens, it's like a defense mechanism, whatever it is, to like dissociate from the trauma and the pain of whatever is going on. And maybe you could look at that as I can't go into whatever it is. I mean, I go into it later, but like somebody's got to pull the people through, right?
Yeah.
Like not everybody can just jump into action.
No, but part of that is also, right, kind of stemming back to I knew chaos. Like I had a lot of chaos and it wasn't anyone's fault. You can't be like, oh, it's this, my parents or this, that, or the other. It was the circumstances of many things. Them carrying a lot of difficult things too, but also come to terms with, say, for instance, oh man, I really have an addiction to alcohol. That was something finally at that beating myself to the ground of realizing I had an issue with. It took me a longer time to realize I was just as addicted to chaos as I was
Totally
to alcohol. Yeah. So a lot of times when people always know too, there's like, we'll call Ginny. Oh, I'm going to call you and dump on you about these things. There was a reward system as well. That when I can help somebody feel better, I get a dopamine drop from that. No doubt about it.
It's all about the chemicals, people. We are just driven by these chemicals.
And from our brains.
Bodies and our brains.
There is a huge sense of peace when I know someone can talk to me and I might hear them out, listen to them, give them some advice, and all of a sudden they're like, dude, you really made me see this in a whole different perspective. I feel so much better. Of course, I'm happy that they're healed, but there's also that reward system in the brain.
It's like, wow, look at how great she is.
She is
amazing. Awesome. She is so freaking awesome. Like, who doesn't like to hear that?
Yeah.
Who doesn't like to hear that they're awesome?
Yeah.
You know? That's okay.
It's okay. It's not a bad thing.
It's when that gets out of balance.
Right.
That's when it becomes a problem.
Or when we're still hiding from the thing that it originated from, that it became like this survival skill at that time. And I'm a lot more clear on it now into my 40s, way more clear. But I can look back at many times and I was like, wow, I really was just being super cool or taking that person's shit left and right because I needed their acceptance. I needed them to like me, like from way back when.
Sure. That's why we were like the chameleon. I could fit in with that group, this group, this group, this group, and that group.
All of them.
Because I wanted them all to like me, because the more people who liked me, the more value I felt, the more self-worth I had, because I had none.
Right.
So I needed this external validation from all these people.
Yes.
Right. And when I got sober and I started doing this work and I could truly get honest about that and look at that and say, why? So this brings it back to the connection. Soul rising, all in all love, loss, and connection is when you do this work and you look at this stuff, you can finally find your true self and feel this connection to yourself and connection to others. Because if I am saying I'm a certain way and I'm giving mixed messages out there, right? If I'm telling my kids, I love you, but I'm not spending any time with you.
Right. Those are two.
That's a mixed, that's gonna F those kids up.
Yeah.
Time. Right?
Yeah.
So I may as well just not even say it.
So why are you saying it? And it's, man, and I've seen the person who's like, hey, I know I haven't been around, but hey, can I send a gift? Or it's really important for me to send the gift, even if it's, say, for instance, for my kids. It's like, cool. Oh, okay. Like they're going to send the gift, but like I haven't called to check on them and I don't know how long, but I'm going to make sure that the gift shows up for Christmas or like you're saying, what's the intention behind it? Is it to not feel guilty?
Yeah. It's to make you feel like a better person.
Right. Totally. And we've all,
which is okay to a certain degree. It's okay. It's not okay if that's how you're constantly acting, and if there is no care behind it, that's not okay. If it's all about you and what you're getting out of it,
right?
That's not okay. I put out a reel the other day, a couple weeks ago, whatever, on Instagram, and it was about like a friend was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry that I didn't acknowledge the birthday card you gave me." And I said to her, "That's okay. Like I don't do things anymore to get like that acknowledgement, and I do them for me because it makes me feel like a good person." I felt after I put that out, I felt like it sounded a little bit like completely selfish. Like it's all about how I feel about myself and it's not about you. I was like, wait a minute, are the people in my life going to be like, she didn't mean that when she said that, or she didn't mean that what she wrote in that card. Is she just doing it because it makes her feel like a good person? Again, stroking my ego. The truth is it's both. Again, all
it
in.
is both.
Again, the black and white, no more black and white, the gray. It's a little of that and it's a little of this. It's a little of, it makes me feel like a good person.
Exactly.
And it increases my self-worth. But I also do it because I do care about you.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't, I would be sending the card to Joe Schmo in the corner.
Exactly.
Right? Like, I'm sending it to you because I care about you.
Right. And the other thing is, let's be real honest too. There is something incredibly rewarding when we allow ourselves to have these interactions of true, authentic, like love with one another or forgiveness or any of those things. And there's been a few times in my life where I've legit like felt it or seen it like in people around me. That's one of the most powerful things ever, right? When we can really be authentically connected with people through that. We're showing them the love, they're accepting the love. It's magic when that happens.
Yes.
And the less guarded we are, or the less bogged down, which I think some of the things we don't always pay attention to are the things bogging us down. The more we can clear out that basement, which some of this is basement shit for me. I'm gonna tell you right now, there's a lot of the things that, like I said, they struck major chords because I'm like, oof, it really made me take a look. I think I had mentioned to you earlier, like one of the first times I ever had somebody say like, well, you know, there's a really fine line between compassion and codependence. And I was like, what? And it was a therapist actually that had said it.
Those
And
damn
I'm like,
therapists.
Those damn therapists. You guys and all your knowing stuff. It bothered me. And I'm like, what are you talking? No, I was like, because of course we also become in that victim state of mind, right? Of I do so much for so many. No one does anything for me. I do so much more in my friendships. People don't value me the way I value them. And coming to the realization that like, ooh, a lot of those things were self-serving. There were times that I would just I would neglect myself to take care of someone else's needs. And in my mind think, well, this is going to make me feel great. Well, meanwhile, I'm neglecting myself.
You're abandoning yourself.
Abandoning myself for fear of abandonment. How freaking weird is that?
Do a whole show on that.
Abandoning yourself, like totally going above and beyond because of your fear of abandonment from
doing
others.
It to yourself first.
That's freaking bananas.
I remember telling friends, you would never do this for me. Look at all I do for you. I was like cleaning up somebody's vomit or something. And I was like, you would never do this for me.
Look at what I've died for you.
Look at the martyr just like me more because look at what I'm doing.
And was it ever enough? Was it ever enough?
No, it was a hole in my own soul that I was trying to fill. And I was trying to fill it with other people's approval of me, acceptance of me, love of me. But it had to come from within.
So freaking uncomfortable for me because this has been like a lifelong thing that, and again, better now, way better in the last probably 5 years of my life. But I constantly placed myself in groups of people and in friends where I was kind of always the shit show, or there's a group of 3 best friends and I'm the 4th one that kind of hangs out. But always in my mind, setting myself up that I'm going to be good enough sometime, that they're going to pull me in as close to them as they are to each other. All freaking ways. This happened all the time.
And you probably never let yourself be pulled in.
No.
If they tried, like we couldn't acknowledge when they were trying to pull us in because we were keeping ourselves in that state.
I'm not enough.
Yeah.
I'm not good enough. I'm not whatever enough.
And really the whole thing was we were trying to prove to ourselves at that time that we were enough.
Yes.
Right? It was never really about the other person.
No, but I'm going to keep putting myself in a situation for people who really can't give to me what I'm searching to fill because it has to come from me anyway. But I'm going to repeat like a CD. I'm going to repeat the soundtrack. Yeah, I don't like looking at that part of myself at all.
That speaks to how conditioned humans are to the familiar and to feel safe in unpleasant situations, but it's better than what we might get, right? The devil you know is better than the devil you might get. That whole thing,
100%.
So we stay in those patterns and those old stuck patterns and the inability to get honest with ourselves and look at things and heal because what's waiting for me on the other side of that?
It's terrifying, the unknown.
Maybe I won't even like that person.
Isn't that crazy?
I had this whole thought of myself that I was this certain kind of person.
Yes.
And then when I see the truth of it, it's like, wait a minute. And then again, that's where the self-compassion comes in.
The self-compassion and also some of the forgiveness too. You walk around with these hurts, these pains that you feel that someone has done to you. Again, abandonment. Man, I've got a ton of abandonment issues. A lot. I'm sure of it now. I didn't always know that. I did not always know that. But in looking back at the situations, I really sought it out in my friends a lot. I sought out that stability. I sought out a sense of belonging. And I'm sure it's because, you know, it was like my upbringing, not all of it, but there was times it was rocky for just different circumstances that happened in life. It was the friends around me and their parents that did keep me alive. Man, I've got some of my friends' parents, Diane Stutzman, E. Marquez, her mom, Roberta, if you're listening to this. Yeah, this was the lady who would give me beans and rice after volleyball, give me a ride home. I had a lot of people's parents that were major, major, major impacts on my life. Monique Valdez, Diane Valdez. I mean, people who took care of me after surgeries, all kinds of things. So as I even grew into being an adult, I continued to seek out this stability I was searching for in friends and peers and people, not realizing I was hanging on to these skills. They did keep me alive when I was 11 and 12, for sure.
I want to point out, too, that you don't have to have a story as difficult or painful as Ginny's upbringing or some of the stories that I've told you about my grief and my trauma. You know, this whole emotional abandonment thing is really what my book really dives into this. And it can happen sometimes just by the nature of growing up. Right?
That's right.
Things having, like, I think I use the example in my book about like being left at preschool. My little girl, my youngest girl, she literally for like 3 or 4 months, she would be standing at that door screaming, crying with her arms out for me not to leave. And I had to leave every day. I mean, I guess she stopped screaming and crying after like a month or two, but she still would cry or whimper. And they would tell me, no, Miss Flanagan, just go.
You gotta walk.
Just go. You gotta go. You just gotta go. And I'd sit in my car and I'd be like, oh, and I'd cry. And I'd be like, should I go back in and get her? Should I go back in and get her? What am I doing? I'm messing her up. But truth is, we have to learn some things throughout childhood and throughout our life that are going to naturally create these feelings of abandonment. And what makes it more severe than others, like other situations where people then turn to drugs and alcohol and turn to these other coping mechanisms, is if that abandonment is not followed up with any kind of love.
That's right.
Like if I turned around and said, stop crying, you're fine. And I did that over and over, that would be different than me saying, it's okay, baby, I'll be back soon. I'll see you a little bit later. You know, so it's how that abandonment is handled, which creates the severity or the trauma around it. But there is a little bit of it just naturally from growing up.
Yes.
So I think that a lot of us that don't have these deep, dark secrets and painful stories are still suffering from some of this stuff. Just from the nature of being a human being.
It's part of it, no matter what. And everyone has their place where they have felt that sense of pain. And it doesn't, you're right, it doesn't have to be some big dramatic story. There's some people who've had what would look like a perfect upbringing to one family where it's just, even emotionally though, there's people who've had their mother or father around who were amazing people and would literally do anything and everything for them, but maybe they weren't really good with talking about how they felt.
Yeah, I've heard people in the room say, my childhood was great. I had a great upbringing. My parents were great. And then like 5 years later, I hear them say, you know what? I thought everything was great, but you know.
Actually, now that I'm looking at it.
Now that I'm getting real and getting honest. Because we do have a phrase, it's called rigorous honesty. Rigorous. That's a perfect word for it. There were a lot of things that I wasn't willing to really see the truth of because I saw no way out, right? If I don't see a path forward, like when I got to the rooms of recovery and I saw the steps on the wall and I was like, okay, there's my outline. There's my blueprint.
There's the blueprint.
There's that map.
That's a good map too. As simple as it is, right? Simple but not easy. What do they say?
That's it.
It's simple, but it's not easy.
I saw this like roadmap basically and I was like, all right, now I'm going to be willing to admit my powerlessness. I'm going to be willing to do whatever I have to do to get well because I saw a way out. So you know, we're trying to give you guys, we hope we're leaving you with some tools, right? And for me, what that looks like again, you know, the meditation, the journaling, asking my higher power to show me the truth of this thing.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a big one.
Yeah, like it was huge. One place that I still struggle, and I go back and forth with this stuff a lot and trying to continually move into my emotional integrity is in my marriage. You know, when my brother died, I had, you know, this fear bubbled up about my husband being the next to die. He's a 9/11 first responder. He has chronic respiratory illness. He's 12 years older than me. So my brain, from the emotional abandonment stuff, right, told me he's next. And I was like, I'm never feeling that again.
So you almost keep yourself guarded.
And it became unacceptable at some point in my life, at some point in my recovery where I needed that emotional intimacy, I needed that true connection. It became unacceptable to me to live that way anymore. So I go through the process of healing. I go to therapy. I do this, do that. Now, this all came up about 5 years ago. I still, when he gets sick, I still venture into that scary place. That fear grips me. I'm usually good for like the first day and then like day 2, day 3.
You're like, where are we at?
And it all comes back up. So it's this constant trigger. I get this trigger. And then I have to implement the tools and the skills that I use to move me back into the emotional integrity of being love. Yeah. So I move.
Instead of in a fear place.
I move from fear to love, from fear to love. And I do it as many times as I have to in order to be in emotional integrity. Because if I say I love my husband, I am by his side in sickness and in health, if I say all that stuff, I have to really feel it. It's like this conscience just drives
awakened almost.
this awakening. Yes, I cannot see this stuff and then not try and heal it or fix it or change it to be the person that I want to be. It's about me. It's about how I feel about myself, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be walking around again like a poser.
Yes.
Like, hey, I've done this work.
And then not really be.
And not be it.
Yeah. It's like, don't just talk about it, be about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot about that fear of not being authentic. I have a lot of that too. I can't even imagine in this situation for you because it's a whole different level of other things, especially just with what you've gone through in your life. And then for Jim to have gone through what he's gone through in his life and still have the remnants of a lot of those things. Those are major things.
Yeah, and some of the tools are, I had an amazing sponsor here in Castle Rock. She's since moved away, but she was amazing. And she would always say, right here, right now, I'm okay.
Man,
look at your feet right here, right now. We're okay.
We're good.
He's healthy. Kids are good. We're safe. We live in a nice house. Like, we live in a safe
great community.
town. Like, life is freaking good. A blog and a podcast I want to do is called Let Life Be Good.
Let life be good.
Be good.
Right.
Stop creating chaos. Back to what you talked about.
Yeah.
Creating the chaos. Things are really okay.
They're actually pretty good.
I can build a mountain out of a molehill.
Always. We have that opportunity or perspective every day. It reminds me, and I need to go back and read it, but have you read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle?
Yes, a long time ago.
It's been a long
I could
time.
probably use to read it again.
Me too. That's the whole focus of it, is talking about,
Right
because otherwise we're in fight or flight, like we've talked about many times before, but you're living in the past, which is literally unchangeable, and the future, which doesn't really exist. We have right now. But we spend some obscene amount of time, I don't know what the percentage like in figuring it out, but it's like we spend at least half of our time in a moment that's not now.
Yeah. If I can plan and prepare for what's going to come, then maybe I'll handle it better, which is not true.
It's not true.
Because I knew my brother was dying.
Yeah.
I knew it. I said to my husband on January 1st of 2018, I said, Jeremy is going to die this year.
Really?
Yes. And he died 2.5 months later. You know, the writing was on the wall. Oh my God, rocked my world. Rocked my world. So this story that we tell ourselves that I'm going to feel safer if I can control my feelings, and you're never going to know how you're going to feel. You never know how you're going to feel. It's just not true. So I got to get honest with myself about that too. That all this planning and preparing is not helping.
It's not going to
It's
shift.
keeping me out of today. It's
right.
keeping me out of the love that I can only embody and then give away in this moment.
And that's what you're seeking so much. I'm seeking that too. And I think that's why we talk about it. It's why we're here. It's why it's what we're doing, because we want to, I don't know, for sure. I definitely want to leave. I want to leave this earth in a way that I'm finally at a point of fully being compassionate to myself too. And leaving others also, you know, with the most authentic thing of myself. The good things I do have to leave here, I want to leave them here with people, not keep them in here and afraid. Based on trying to maintain control of either circumstances or feelings or fears and all the things that we have. And I think that's probably, I mean, I hear you talk about it. You are being about it. You are being about it. You're constantly every day. But like you said, it's not something that's on a light switch, right? It's like,
it takes work.
we're constantly having to do it. But I'm watching you do it, so you should be way proud of yourself.
Thank you. It's really kind of exciting when I think about it. When I think about peeling the layers, like getting to know myself even more. I feel like this whole life is just a journey to finding our true self.
Our true selves. Yeah.
Which
remembering,
like we said, which ultimately is love. How much love can I bring to the world? Where am I not acting in love? Where do I say I'm acting in love and I'm really not? That is what we really need to be getting honest about.
Absolutely.
How much love do we hold in our hearts? How much love am I capable of?
There's no limit outside of the fear. Outside of the fear that we have. And we all have it. We all have the fears. That's part of what we're doing here. But
so another example of this, like living with emotional integrity, could be, I say I'm a climate change activist, right? Like, I did eat a cupcake and a piece of pizza at my daughter's birthday party yesterday. Just saying, just outing myself.
Throwing it out there.
Just outing myself. But, you know, like if I'm in the supermarket and I forget my reusable bags.
Yeah.
Or I'm in the restaurant and I forget I keep an extra set of plastic utensils in my glove box.
Yeah.
Like when I go out to eat, if they give me plastic utensils, I say no thank you. And I go out my glove box because I always forget them. And I use them and then I wrap them up in a napkin. I bring them home and I clean them. Yeah. And that might be a little extreme to some of y'all out there, but like, I just said y'all. I must be a Colorado.
You New Yorker just said y'all. What happened? Oh my God. I was here to see it. I saw it all happen.
But yeah, I usually make that effort. I mean, listen, it's so easy in the supermarket. If I forget my bags, I just throw all my food in the cart and I get to the car and I put them in my bags when I get to the car. I love it when I see people walk into the car with like their basket full of food. I want to like high five them. I
Oh,
wanna be
yes.
like, thank you.
But sometimes I do that too. But sometimes there's two things that happen. I'm either doing that because I'm on no, F you and your 10 cents. Oh, yeah, I'll just put it in my basket right now. I don't need your stupid bag.
Whatever reason, whatever works.
Right? But then sometimes, how many bags did you have?
0.
And I'm like, 1. Meanwhile, I have 6 in the carts. But you're better than me because at least, you know, I mean, yeah, you got the utensils in the cart. That's gangster.
Yeah, dude. I'm no joke. Like
You're about it.
And listen, I know that my utensils are not going to save the planet. I'm well aware of like way that I live and how they're not saving the world. I have these things in perspective. But I try because it's for me too. It's for the earth, but it's also for me to feel like I am living with integrity.
Yeah.
When I say I'm going to
Do
something.
something.
Or I'm going to be somewhere, I got to do it. That takes discipline.
It does.
We are just like, discipline? What the hell is that?
I don't like discipline a lot. I am not the biggest fan. I'm not the president of the fan club of discipline.
Well, our society doesn't really encourage discipline. Everybody, the entitlement
not,
is
huh?
through the roof. Everybody get
I
what you
guess.
want all the time right now.
Right now.
You deserve it. You deserve everything.
That's a good point you bring up. Ooh, because again, there we go. Discipline almost offends me.
Does
Isn't
it?
that hilarious? It's a problem because my brain, it's kind of all over. And again, the chaos thing. I am someone who is uncomfortable in disciplined situations. This is legitimately
That's
true. Yeah. Unless
Tell me more.
it's, yeah, tell me more. Tell me more. No, I'm serious. Like it is, my husband is incredibly disciplined. This guy, Tom, you're the best. I love you.
Yes, Tom.
It's why we're so good for each other. He is, I'm talking, you could set your watch. Now, this is incredibly helpful for our children. He is up by the exact time every day. He's gone and he's worked out. He is back. He knows where his black shorts are that he's going to wear for that day for this. He makes breakfast for our kids every single day, which is pretty amazing.
High five, Tom.
High five.
High 10.
He's also a little bit of a control freak too, but hey.
It's where these qualities, how they come out. Sometimes that control thing can really hurt us, and then sometimes it really is a beautiful gift.
Yes, and the thing that makes it amazing for us is because he's so that way. For him, sometimes he needs a little bit of like, okay, calm down, tone it down, bro, tone it down. Like it's gonna be okay. At the same time, for me, that time blindness and all those things that like happen, or whatever it might be, that it's like, you think you're better than me because I'm not good at this. And it's all mental.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I do the same thing.
I'm like, you think you're just telling me this. You're just trying to point out my flaws and that I sometimes am a little crazy, but I'm not that crazy, you know, but it's like, you're trying to make yourself look better than me. You're trying to make me feel bad.
Yes. Oh my God.
Do you do that?
Yes.
Really?
Whenever Jim cooks dinner, like I want him to cook dinner, but I don't want him to cook dinner because then it makes me feel like I'm bad for not cooking dinner. That's also the whole feminist stuff, social roles of the women. I'm supposed to be cooking dinner. If I'm not cooking dinner, then I'm not doing it right. And he's very meticulous in the way that, like, if he wants to do something, he's going to do it right. He'll cook, but he won't care about how dirty things get. He's just in the moment. Yeah. And I'm stepping on breadcrumbs, and I'm like, what the, you know, like, why don't you do it like me? If you're going to, I want you to do it, but I want you to do it like me. Okay. But then it just makes me feel bad. He's so like all into this cooking dinner. Like he's like giving it his all, like his heart's in it. And I'm like, I hate this. I hate this chopping. I hate this. My eyes are watering. This friggin' onion.
This is so stupid.
Sometimes I really get like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like I like revolt against it.
Isn't that's exactly, you know what I'm talking about. It's different, but it's the same. Like, why are you trying to prove to me that you're better?
It's all in my head.
So God.
These poor guys.
I know. We love you guys. You guys are troopers.
So discipline is an interesting concept right now too, because like we are living in a time where we have to fight the structure, right? I'm not telling people to toe the line. I'm not telling people to like, you know, get in line and do what you're supposed to do. And you need to be disciplined and you need to follow the rules. And no. We need a lot of rule breakers right now. We need a lot.
We do need some rule breaking, guys.
Yeah, big time.
Break all that shit. Do it.
But when it comes to internal discipline,
for yourself,
if you're going to break the rules, be disciplined about breaking the rules.
Yeah. Well, okay. For instance, being disciplined about taking 10 minutes to meditate. 10, 2, just 2 minutes to calm your neurological system down and give yourself that takes discipline.
It takes discipline.
It's simple but not easy.
And then you got to get honest with yourself about that discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is this part of my life falling apart? Is it because I'm not disciplined? Is it because I don't have enough structure? Is it because I think that I'm allowed to do whatever I want, whenever I want, and it doesn't matter who else it's affecting?
Right.
Right?
Or am I too disciplined?
Yeah.
That's not my problem. But I mean, I think
In
some cases, some people, it's just like, this is how it's going to be. I can't be bendable.
Oh, I totally have that. We say the washing machine is singing my song when it plays its little tune that it's done.
Yeah.
I'll know it's done. And it's like, all right, I don't have to do that. But within like 10 minutes, I'm freaking down there switching the laundry. And then I'm pissed off that I have to switch the laundry all the time. And I'm just, my whole life is about doing friggin' laundry. I'm doing laundry 24/7.
Isn't it crazy? I think it's like a
Never
mystical life lesson because I just went through this. I was annoyed and aggravated. And I'm like, it's never done. But guess
But
what?
I don't have to do it. It could sit there.
It could sit there.
Listen,
Yeah.
the socks aren't going to get up and yell at me. Like, it's okay. They could sit
Your kids will know where to
there.
find them. They'll be there.
Yeah. So I have to get honest with myself about how much of this am I putting on myself? How much pressure am I putting on myself? How much perfectionism am I putting on myself? Not allowing myself to just let life be good.
Let life be good. Oh, man, that's going to be a good
That's
one.
going to be a good one.
Yes.
So, all right. So here's the challenge.
Here we
If
go.
you've been doing these challenges, please let us know.
Yeah, you should write in.
Yeah. Email us soulrisingpodcast@gmail.com.
Yep.
We will give you a shout out. We'll tell you the
Yes.
story if you want, right?
Please do.
We want to know if you guys are actually doing this stuff. So the first thing that I would suggest that you do when something comes up that might not feel completely aligned with yourself, or this is not honest. There's something not honest about how I'm acting. Like I'm saying that I'm this way, but this action is not lining up with that. Question that. Like sit in that for a minute. Question why you're doing something or why you're not doing something. Just ask yourself. Just literally talk to yourself. Like, or your higher power, show me. Why am I doing this? Why am I taking this action? Is this really aligned with the person that I want to be? Am I living with emotional integrity, right? And you got to get super duper honest about if that is building character, if it's really kind for someone else, if it's selfless, if it's humble, or are you taking an action to get the pat on the back, the accolades, that you want all eyes on you? I used to want all eyes on me, no matter it was good or it was bad. And I would do things to take that attention away from you and direct it back on me. And that was a tough thing for me to get very honest about. So are you acting like that? And the way that you get there, again, meditation, journaling. Journaling is so amazing. It is always so amazing to me. I sit down, I start writing, and where I end up a couple pages later, it's just a complete shift of perception.
Yeah, because you're allowing yourself to process thoughts.
I'm not controlling it. My hand is just going.
Yeah.
The thoughts are coming in. I'm allowing
Letting 'em
myself to write them down.
Yeah.
And it's leading me somewhere. And it's always better. I always
It's a
feel better
great
after.
suggestion. I need to get back to it. I keep, again, a discipline thing. Used to be so easy for me. And probably part of the reason I've avoided it is because the real stuff comes up.
Yeah.
So I just somehow can't carve out 10 minutes to journal because I'm just so busy all the time.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
And when you get to the end of that journaling, at the end of the couple of pages, and the truth is revealed, allow yourself to take it in, internalize it, feel it, acknowledge it, get honest about it, say, okay, that's who I am, that's how I operate. You could then take it a step further and say, why? Why do I do that? Right? Sometimes we need to know, sometimes we don't. Sometimes it's not necessary to turn over every single rock. Like if you know something, you could probably get rid of it without having to uncover everything. For me, I like the digging. I think it helps me heal even more when I can understand the root cause of this stuff.
It does. As messy as I can get. And don't be afraid of the mess. That's the
Do
other thing.
not be afraid of the mess.
Don't be afraid of the mess.
It's there. It's purposeful. The mess is there for a reason. Whatever life history you had in the past, I'm sorry to break this to you, but it was supposed to be that way.
100%.
Right. And I'm sorry. And I know a lot of you have gone through some real terrible stuff. It helps me to believe that those things that happen are leading me to this greater sense of peace, of healing, of true self, of authenticity, that maybe I couldn't get to this place I'm searching to get without those painful experiences.
Yeah.
So go gentle on yourself. Find the self-compassion. Say, okay, that happened and it made me this way, made me have to act out on these survival traits or whatever. And now God, higher power, universe, whatever it is, please give me the self-compassion to forgive myself, to hug my inner child, whatever you want to do, create whatever works for you. And then the next time it pops up, try not to act on that thing again. The more you practice this, the more awareness you're going to get.
Right.
When that feeling crops up, you're going to be able to identify it and you can say, okay, I know what that is.
Yeah. And be able to take a little bit of a different action than what you would have, or a thought process even, which is, that's enormously huge. Everyone has gone through all the things they have. It's like a tempering, right? Like we're tempered. It's the same way. Isn't that what that's called when they take a sword and put it under flame and do all the crazy things? I think it's called tempering. Somebody correct me. The difficult things that we go through. I'm on the same boat as you, that it's all been for a reason. All of it. I would not be who I am without it. Any of it. None of us would be.
Exactly. I'm grateful for all the pain. I really am. So then the second part of what we've been talking about is when somebody else says things about you. Next time somebody does that, do not brush it away immediately. I feel like it's almost an easy way out. I feel like it's almost a really easy escape to not look at yourself and just to say, no, that's about them. That's not about me. And like we said, most likely is. But sit with that for a minute. Determine if there is any truth to whatever that they are saying and get so uncomfortably honest with yourself. Then you ask for that self-compassion to look at it and say, all right, is this true? Is this not? And then keep what you need, leave the rest, right? Like we said
exactly. Because it's going to be an opportunity. Again, the things we ignore the most are the parts where we have the most potential of growth. These places that we literally were like, stick it under a rock. Let's just hide that. When we do that, we are ignoring those massive opportunities of just insane amounts of growth and power and strength and love for ourselves, which is just
spirit coming through other people. That's why there are, 8 billion of us here? Because we are not only mirrors, we are each other's eyes. We cannot see ourselves. So that's why we're in partnership with people. That's why we brush up against people in the world that antagonize or make us feel irritable or we don't like them. They're there for a reason.
Yeah.
They're there to show you something about yourself. So do not throw out their entire claim. Take it, look at it honestly, dig pretty deep and say, okay, is this true? Is this not? Is maybe a part of this true? Part of this not? That's it. Change what needs to be changed slowly and over time and with grace and with gentleness. Always loving yourself and just toss the rest.
Yeah. Exactly. Because again, even in that, you find the little tiny piece of gold in a bunch of rocks. Sometimes the value that you can gain from that is just insane, in terms of your own growth. So and I don't know. That's all I can hope for myself too. It is to have the courage to look at it, have the courage to be in it, and also have the compassion, having the compassion for myself. Yes. Instead of being so terrified of like, oh, this is going to feel so shitty.
Yeah. Hating yourself or beating yourself up or having those feelings of, oh, I feel like such a piece of garbage. It's not going to get you to the place that we're talking about where we think you want to get to, or else you probably wouldn't be listening to this for this long. So
we're so glad you guys have stuck around, by the way. You guys are troopers and we love it. We love that you're here with us because you're helping us discover ourselves too.
Yes. Thank you for listening, because if we didn't have all the downloads we have, we'd be like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Nobody's listening.
We wouldn't be here without you guys. It means everything.
We appreciate you guys.
Yes, we
love
hope
you guys.
You keep coming back. We love you so much.
You guys are awesome. All right, peeps. Take it easy.
Bye.
If this podcast resonates with you and you want to dive deeper, check out my blog, Get Real, all in on love, loss, and connection at AmandaMcCoyFlanagan.com. That's McCoy with a K. You can also follow me on Instagram at Amanda McCoy Flanagan.
See you next time. Until then, let that soul rise.